Next stop is Ashgabat, Turkmenistan. On the way, we fly past the Caucasus and Mount Elbrus, the highest mountain in Europe and Russia. As we taxi to our gate, I'm thinking it looks a lot like Soviet functional architecture. We'll probably be seeing more concrete boxes here. Leaving the airport, we're greeted by Oghuz Khagan, the mythical progenitor of the Turkmen people. Then it hits us. We've landed in Oz with Dorothy, not Turkmenistan. Here everything is white marble and gold leaf. Our guide proudly points out several theaters and government buildings. This one is the state railroad offices. Turkmen State University? Believe it or not, this is the math department. And this is a hotel. Even the streetlights are ornate in white and gold. We notice that there aren't many people around these buildings, and many have Türkmenbaşy on them in gold letters. We stop at the Independence Monument to meet Türkmenbaşy. This is Türkmenbaşy, Saparmyrat Türkmenbaşy. He was the first popularly elected president of Turkmenistan. It helped that he was the only candidate. Türkmenbaşy means leader of all the Turkmens. Our guide often refers to him as Türkmenbaşy the Great. This monument commemorates independence from the Soviet Union in 1991. In 1881, Turkmen tribes were conquered by the Russian army and became part of the Russian Empire. The Turkmens resisted the Bolsheviks until 1924, when the Turkmen Soviet Socialist Republic became part of the Soviet Union, which became Turkmenistan in 1991 when the Soviet Union disintegrated. Türkmenbaşy was a career politician and in 1985 was first secretary of the Communist Party here. He became famous for his eccentricities and died in 2006. For example, this structure is the world's largest indoor Ferris wheel. This monument celebrates the Runana, the Book of the Soul, written by Türkmenbaşy. It was intended to provide spiritual guidance and a basis for the nation's art and literature. But it is the oil and gas revenue that fuels an 11% GDP growth in 2012. Turkmenistan has the fourth largest oil reserves in the world. With free energy and subsidized housing to keep the people happy, this boom might last for a while. We arrive at our hotel, a beauty in white marble and glass. The lobby is decorated with scenes from Turkmen mythology in white marble. In the morning, we're flying to Merv to explore a completely different Turkmenistan. Merv is a modern Russian-built city located in one of the most fertile parts of Turkmenistan. Here's a satellite image of Turkmenistan. Most of it's the Karakum Desert, where the oil and gas reserves are. But two rivers flow from the Hindu Kush mountains of Afghanistan, and their waters irrigate the area around Merv before disappearing into the desert. We're here to visit the site of the ancient city of Merv, which was the largest city in the world in the 12th century. This is Erik Kala, the oldest part of Merv, dating to the 5th century BC. Merv's origins are prehistoric, but it became a trading center under the first Persian Empire of Cyrus the Great. This was the beginning of the Silk Road. In 336, Alexander the Great conquered the world and renamed Merv Alexandria in Morgiana. Merv became part of the Seleucid Empire and expanded, adding new city walls, seen here on the right. The great city continued to develop with the ebb and flow of empires over the next 1,000 years. The Seleucids gave way to the Parthians and then the Sasanians. Merv grew into an administrative, a military, and trading center. Islam arrived in Merv in the 7th century, and the city became the capital of Khorasan, the eastern lands, under the Umayyad and Abbasid caliphates. The city was growing. New walls were built. This is Greater Kiskala, dating to the 8th century. It's a semi-fortified residence, probably for a wealthy merchant family. The lesser Kiskala is about 100 yards away. Today, camels graze where 1,000 years ago streets were filled with homes, shops, and caravanserais. In 1037, the Seljuks, a clan of Oghuz Turks, the ancestors of today's Turkmen, captured Merv. Under their rule, Merv grew to a population of 200,000, the largest city in the world, in 1150. The tomb of Ahmed Sanjar was built in 1157. The tomb has been reconstructed and restored with help from the Turkish government. Let's go inside. In the center is the cenotaph of Sultan Sanjar. He was the Sultan of the Seljuk Empire from 1118 to 1153. The restoration is impressive. You can tell the original from the reconstruction. The Mongols sacked Merv in 1221, killing most of the population. The city never regained its greatness. The tomb of Muḥammad bin Zayd was built in the 12th century. This tomb is interesting because more of it is original, and it's built next to the ruins of a caravanserai that was even older than the tomb. This place is a traditional pilgrimage site. People write wishes on strips of cloth and then tie them to the saxaul trees. The cupola was rebuilt in 1936, but you can still see some of the original brickwork. The richly carved cenotaph of Muḥammad bin Zayd. This complex, currently being reconstructed, dates to the 15th century. The small mausoleums are backed by an iwan, or gateway. Now for a change, we're stopping at the Yosef Baba Mosque. But we don't actually make it to the mosque. We get sidetracked by all the activity in an outbuilding. It's a communal kitchen and dining hall, and preparations are underway for Eid al-Adha, the Feast of Sacrifice. The feast honors Abraham's willingness to sacrifice his son as the act of submission to God's command. It's a tradition for every family to sacrifice an animal. Here, usually a sheep, a camel, or a chicken, depending on what the family can afford. Then the meat is shared with the community. The people were really friendly, and in the spirit of the occasion, asked us to join them. Everyone wanted their picture taken. Looking at these faces, I think I can see the effect of empires. From the angular features of the Persians to the round faces and almond eyes of the Mongols, to these blonde-haired, blue-eyed boys who would not be out of place in Moscow. It's back to Mary for a hearty lunch of traditional Turkmen specialties. First, an eggplant vegetable stew, then grilled meats with rice and beets. From Mary, we fly back to Ashgabat and back to our hotel for dinner. In the morning, looking out our hotel window, I can't help but wonder, where will all the white marble come from for all these new buildings? Then it's back into the city to visit another of Türkmenbaşy's monuments to himself. This 39-foot tall statue of Türkmenbaşy originally sat atop a tower close to the presidential palace. It rotated so that it always faced the sun. The new president apparently didn't like Türkmenbaşy looking down on him, so the statue was moved to its current location on top of the Monument to Neutrality, which is locally known as the rocket ship for obvious reasons. The next stop is the National Museum. These 5 rug patterns are distinctive to the 5 tribes of Turkmenistan and are also on the country's flag. The museum has a very nice collection of artifacts from all the empires that have passed through here. It'd be worth a day, but unfortunately, we have less than an hour. They have a large collection of coins from Merv, including this one with Alexander the Great on it, and artifacts from the various Persian empires. Our last stop in Turkmenistan is appropriately Türkmenbaşy's last monument to himself, his mosque and mausoleum. The mosque is very controversial because traditionally a mosque is decorated with verses from the Quran, but here quotes from Türkmenbaşy's Runana are also included. A short, respectful visit to Türkmenbaşy's mausoleum and then off to the airport.